We're talking about a great epic here that was written almost 5,000 years ago, 4,700 roughly years ago, right? Gilgamesh, a mighty man that was fashioned, that was created, not created from scratch as if somebody had magic, but he was a genetically created person using designer technology, just like we have designer babies right now. You can go to Hollywood, go to Beverly Hills, and you can go there with $250,000 and you can make a designer baby. They will take the egg from the womb of the woman, like they did my friend's wife. They will do some genetic tinkering with that. They will inseminate that egg with the sperm of the husband, which is my friend. And then from there, they will do some more genetic tinkering with the gene code, and they will control the eye color, the hair color, and many other aspects of the kid. And then this kid will be born. And I ain't going to lie to you, this kid is an absolute genius right now as a toddler. They're doing that now in 2020. Now that baby was born in 2022. So 2024 right now, currently. This is current era technology that we've rediscovered. They're talking about doing this a very, very long time ago. That's right, CRISPR. So then what happens here is somebody says, you know what, this guy won't take a wife. He just keeps traveling the world. He doesn't really have a lot of friends because he's really a hardcore dude, you know. Let's go ahead and fashion him a friend. Let's make him a friend, a mighty man that can hang out with him, a homeboy. So they say, you know, let's go ahead and make this guy. So they go ahead and make him a friend. They literally make this guy. This guy doesn't know people. He doesn't know civilization. He's acting like a wild animal. And then they send this harlot to him to, you know, have sex with him, give him a little bit of education, talk to him, let him see that he's not an animal, he's a human being, or hominid, an advanced hominid of some sort. And then they lure him back to the city where he's going to eventually meet Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh is having dreams about this guy. His mother interprets these dreams and tells him there's a mighty man coming to town, and you and this guy are going to be good buddies, close buddies, and this guy's going to save your life. So this is how this epic starts out, okay? Pretty interesting stuff. I mean, we're talking about text that's thousands and thousands of years old, and that leads up into RemA.Istered, who actually is, now we're getting into the Noah Ark story. You know, so this is pretty interesting stuff. And like I say, when something is etched in stone, it makes it easier to copy it onto paper. I guarantee you there's very few books that have been copied from paper to paper that still exist. There may be some in Tibet, but those may be even just one-off copies. And if you touch those papers with your hands, they'll just disintegrate in your hand. Most of the text that made up religious texts came from ancient tablets from around the world because those things can stand the test of time, you see? And the story of Noah, which you'll discover in reading this, is not even close to what some of the things they teach you in Bible study, like he had 2 of every kind of animal that came into the ark. That's literally absolutely fabricated, which you'll see soon. It's a fabrication. It didn't happen. They didn't have 2 cockroaches and 2 fleas and 2 gazelles and 2 lions and 2 giraffes, and didn't happen, guys. Stop telling your kids these fake fairy tales. Stop giving them the fake news. Just stop. Okay? Didn't happen. Just stop it. We got it. At some point, we got to stop. I mean, you know, come on. 2 mosquitoes and, you know, come on, man. Stop doing that. Let's wake up as a sentient being using logic. We have a quantum processor right here. A quantum processor. They're still trying to perfect the artificial ones, but we got a quantum processor in our heads, and we keep telling kids these fairy tales. You'll find that the story is much different. And then in this, I'm also going to get the new tablet that was discovered, which talks about the construction of Noah's Ark, which was not the shape of the boat in the biblical text and not the dimensions of the boat in the biblical text. Those are fully fully fabricated. Okay? Fully fabricated. The dimensions of the boat, you'll see as I get into it when we get to that part. It might take a few more days to get to that. It's round. It was a round, disc-shaped ship, not a gigantic boat. And he wasn't told to get 2 of every animal from all over the world. He was told to gather up his local livestock and some of his local flora and fauna that was right there next to him. Okay? And it's the reason why he was told and nobody else was told. And you'll find out the real reason. It wasn't because God wanted to spare his life. It's because his father wanted to spare his life. His father. And you'll find out who his father is as we continue on in this epic. All right. So let's get into tablet number 2. Enkidu sits in front of her. He's talking about the harlot now. Now, after this, 30 lines of text are missing because some fragments broke. All right. So it picks up where the fragments, the chipping is gone, and we got to start from where we know. All right. It says, why? His own counsel, at his instruction. Who knows his heart? Shamat pulled off her clothing and clothed him with one piece, while she clothed herself with a second. She took hold of him as the gods do, and she brought him to the hut of the shepherds. The shepherds gathered all around him. They marveled to themselves how the youth resembles Gilgamesh. They're saying this guy Enkidu is just as big and as powerful as Gilgamesh. This is crazy. Tall in stature. He's a giant. Towering up to the battlements. So we're talking about, battlements. We're talking about these areas of these ancient megalithic walls where guards would be able to stand and launch weapons at oncoming intruders. You're talking about 12, 15 feet, maybe more. Okay? Just study this stuff. Okay, check this out. They say tall in stature, towering up to the battlements over the wall. Surely he was born in the mountains. His strength is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. They place food in front of him. They place bear in front of him. Enkidu knew nothing about eating bread or food. Of drinking beer, he had not been taught. The harlot spoke to Enkidu, saying, eat the food. Enkidu, it is the way one lives. Drink the beer. As in the custom of the land, Enkidu ate the food until he was sated. He drank the beer, 7 jugs, and became expansive and sang with joy. He was elated, and his face glowed. He splashed his shaggy body with water. He rubbed himself with oil. He turned into a human. That's funny. He had to get drunk to turn into a human. Oh, man. If you remember in tablet number 1, up until this point, he didn't eat food. He only drank water. Water was his only sustenance. He didn't need food. He only needed water. He didn't need plants. Well, he ate a little bit of grass and he drank water. That was his only thing. Now he's eating everything. Now he's a human. He put on some clothing and became like a warrior. He took up his weapon and chased lions so that the shepherds could eat. He routed the wolves. He chased the lions. This guy's chasing lions. Talking about how big this guy is. A lion is hardly afraid of anything. A lion will run only because it doesn't want to get injured, which means this guy was massive. With Enkidu as their guard, the herders could lie down. This guy was protecting the herders and the herd of animals by himself from wild animals. A wakeful man, a singular youth. He was twice as tall as a normal man. He was twice as tall as a normal man. So you're talking about this guy's obviously in the 12-foot range. All right. If these Sumerian people were not tiny people. So this was a big dude. 10, 12 feet was a reasonable number. The next 33 lines are missing in the standard version. Lines 57 and 86 are taken from the Old Babylonian, just to give you a note here. Then he raised his eyes and saw a man. He said to the harlot, Shamat, have that man go away. Why has he come? I will call out his name. The harlot called out to the man and went over to him and spoke with him. Young man, where are you hurrying? Why this arduous pace? The young man spoke, saying, Enkidu, they have invited me to a wedding, as is the custom of the people, the selection of brides. I have heaped up tasty delights for the wedding on the ceremonial platter. For the king of broad-marted Uruk, open is the wall, open is the veil of the people for choosing a girl. For Gilgamesh, the king of broad-marted Uruk, open is the veil of the people for choosing. He will have intercourse with the destined wife. He first, the husband afterward. This is ordered by the council of Anu. So what they're saying here is this guy's going to have intercourse with the wife and then the husband next. This is ordered by the council of Anu. From the severing of his umbilical cord, it has been destined for him. At the young man's speech, his Enkidu's face flushed with anger. Several lines now are missing from here. Enkidu walked in front and Shamat after him. Enkidu walked down the street of Uruk Haven. Mighty, he blocked the way through Uruk, the sheepfold. The land of Uruk stood around him. The whole land assembled about him. The populace was thronging around him. The men were clustered about him and kissed at his feet if he were a little baby. Suddenly, a handsome young man, for Ishara, the bed of the night, marriage is ready. For Gilgamesh, as for God, a counterpart is set up. Enkidu blocked the entry to the marital chamber, as would not allow Gilgamesh to be brought in. They grappled with each other at the entry to the marital chamber. In the street, they attacked one another publicly in the public square of the land. The doorposts trembled and the walls actually shook. You're talking about two giants fighting over one woman, and one's supposed to marry her, and the other one's just had sex with her, and he's like, man, I got to keep this for me. You can't have this now. It's too late. I put my mark on this. So now these guys are battling each other. They're battling each other, and the whole city is shaking. Then after this, 42 lines, unfortunately, are missing. Gilgamesh bent his knees. With his other foot on the ground, his anger abated, and he turned his chest away. After he turned his chest, Enkidu said to Gilgamesh, your mother bore you ever unique. The wild cow of the enclosure, Ninsun, your head is elevated over other men. Enlil has destined for you the kingship over the people. Then 19 lines are chipped away. They kissed each other and became friends. Not like on the lips, like, that ritual stuff that they do, like in the Slavic countries. The Old Babylonian becomes fragmentary. So basically, we're losing a little bit here and there. His strength is the mightiest in the land. His strength is mighty as the meteorite of Anu. Now, this meteorite of Anu is obviously one hell of a stone. And I believe that the meteorite that's located in the cube that the people of the Islamic faith, the Muslims, go to at Mecca, there's a gigantic megalithic granite box that they walk around counterclockwise. And there's a magnificent meteorite in the corner, embedded into the corner of this megalithic granite stone box that they go to, and they walk around this box. I believe that is the meteorite of Anu. Till this very day, it's still being worshipped. Okay? His strength is the mightiest on the land. His strength is as mighty as the meteorite of Anu. The mother of Gilgamesh spoke to Gilgamesh, saying, RemA.Istered said to her son, RemA.Istered, my son, plaintively, she went up into his Shamash gateway. Plaintively, she spoke, she implored. Enkidu has no father or mother. Enkidu has no father or mother. He never did, because he was fashioned. He was created. He's like a artificially created avatar. His shaggy hair, no one cuts. He was born in the wilderness. No one raised him. Enkidu was standing there and heard that speech. He sat down and wept. His eyes filled with tears. His arms felt limp. His strength weakened. They took each other by the hand, and their hands, like Enkidu, made a declaration to Gilgamesh. In order to protect the cedar forest, Enlil assigned Humbaba as a terror to human beings. Humbaba's roar is a roar of the flood. His mouth is fire. His breath is death. He can hear 100 leagues away any rustling in the forest. This is incredible. Now let's take a look at this. Enlil, aka Yahweh in the Bible, he creates this thing that is something like a monster, but it's really a machine of some type. It's not a person. It's clearly not a person. Humbaba's roar is a flood. His mouth is fire. His breath is death. We're talking about some type of deadly machine. He says this machine can hear up to 100 leagues away. Okay? Up to 100 leagues. That's a far distance. It can hear rustling in the forest. Now, that's powerful. Okay? And I want to just take a quick stop here. I want to get this exact distance in miles if I can real quick. We're talking about 300 miles because a league is 100 miles. So we're talking about 300 miles. This thing can hear into the forest, wrestling of a bush. Why did he do this? Let me get back to my my text here. Enlil did this. He created this thing because people were deforesting too much. They were tearing down the entire forest. Same thing going on right now. They had no control. He had to say, look, we can't let this, we can't let this forest become torn completely down. We need this forest. So what did he do? He creates this Humbaba, which is this type of technology, in my opinion. You might not see it that way, but when I read this, I read technology. And if you don't see it that way, guess what? That's okay. You don't have to see it my way, but that's what I see. He said it can hear up to 100 leagues away any rustling in the forest. He said in his forest, and Enlil owns this forest. Will go down into the forest. Who would go down into the forest? Enlil assigned him as a terror to human beings. And whoever goes down into the forest, paralysis will strike. Gilgamesh spoke to Enkidu saying, what you say? Then 42 lines are messed up here from the text. Who, my friend, can ascend to the heavens? Only the gods can dwell forever with Shamash. As for human beings, their days are numbered. Whatever they keep trying to achieve is but wind. In other words, it's like waste. Now you are afraid of death. What has become of your bold strength? I will go in front of you, and your mouth can call out. Go on closer. Do not be afraid. Should I fall? I have established my fame. They will say it was Gilgamesh who locked in battle with Humbaba the Terrible. So they're getting ready to go attack this thing. You were born and raised in the wilderness. A lion leaped on you. So you have experienced it all. I will undertake it, and I will cut down the cedar. It is I who will establish fame for eternity. Come, my friend. I will go over to the forge. and have them cast the weapons in our presence. So they're getting ready to head into the forest and attack this Humbaba, as well as cut down some trees. Holding each other by the hand, they went over to the forge. The craftsman sat and discussed with another, we should fashion the axe. The hatchet should be 1 talent in weight. Man, that's heavy. Jeez. 1 talent. The sword should be 1 talent. The armor is 1 talent. Their armor, Gilgamesh said to the men of Uruk, listen to me, men. You men of Uruk who know I want to make myself mighty and will go on a distant journey. I will face fighting such as I have never known. I will set out on a road I have never traveled. Give me your blessings. I will enter the city of the gate of Uruk. I will devote myself to the New Year's festival. I will perform the New Year's ceremonies in the New Year's festival will take place with celebrations. They will keep shouting, hurrah. And Enkidu spoke to the elders. What the men of Uruk say to him that he must nor go to the cedar forest. That means they're saying don't go. Nor go means don't go. In a war, nor go. The journey is not to be made. They're telling him, don't, this is against our rules. Don't do this. A man who, the guardian of the cedar forest, the noble councils of Uruk, arose and delivered their advice to Gilgamesh. You are young, Gilgamesh. Your heart carries you off. You do not know what you are talking about. Then in some areas, there's a little bit messed up. It says, gave birth to you. Humbaba's roar as a flood. His mouth is fire. His breath is death. He can hear rustling in the forest 100 leagues away. Who would go down to his forest? Who among even the Igigi gods can confront him? Now they're talking about the Igigi. The Igigi were mighty men of old. They were working class Anunnaki, extremely strong beings with incredible levels of knowledge, construction knowledge. They helped build the cities. It wasn't mankind that built some of these super ancient cities before the flood. Mankind was forced to build after the flood, according to the tablets. Before the flood, the Igigi were the ones doing all the building. Then they became the teachers of construction. They were the brick masons. In order to keep the cedar forest safe, Enlil assigned him as a terror to human beings. Gilgamesh listened to the statement of his noble counselors. And then about 5 tablets are missing there. So, you see, this is getting, for me, it's kind of exciting. I don't know. Some people be like, man, I don't even know what this guy's reading. This is some boring stuff. But for me, this is exciting stuff. It's like I'm going into some of the oldest text that exist, that's written by our ancient ancestors, that's telling a story of a guy who was a massive being, a giant that was genetically created, and his friend was also genetically created in some way. And these two guys are massive, powerful people that want to make a name for themselves. So they're going off on a hero's journey together to make a name for themselves, to make themselves famous. It's just like, nothing's changed. It's the same old stuff going on in this world. But the evidence of these things that are waiting on them, like this animal or this monster, or maybe this machine that's waiting to protect the forest, this protector of the forest, maybe it's some type of a massive, Boston Dynamics type robot. Who knows? But it literally spews some type of material out of its mouth that will kill you. That don't sound like a human being to me. This sounds like a weapon that's protecting the forest. The Enlil says, nobody's going to mess with my forest. I don't care. And I'm going to put a protector that can hear up to 300 miles away. If one bush is rustling in the wind, it's going to go inspect it. And for it to hear something 300 miles away, that means it can get to that point very fast. Because if I'm rustling in the woods and I'm getting ready to chop down a tree 300 leagues from 300 miles away from this guy, right? Or wherever this machine or wherever this thing is, and it hears me, it obviously has the capability of getting to me at a very rapid pace, covering a massive amount of miles in a very short period of time, most likely before I'm done doing what I'm trying to do, so that it can capture me and kill me. We're talking about technology because a man can't run that fast. This is crazy stuff. I love reading this stuff because it takes me way back. And it's like I'm seeing through the eyes of ancient ancestors and what they experienced, what they saw, what they were told to write down, what they knew, and how they can describe what they saw to the best of their ability and how life was in those times. And you can kind of almost see that it's not too far from where we are now in terms of how people live. They got New Year's Eve party celebrations. You got harlots, we call them hoes. I mean, they got, people who like sex. They want to drink beer, all this crazy stuff is going on. And the very first recipe for beer at the British Museum, that's where it exists, is on a Sumerian tablet. And it says that the great god Anu, you're talking about the Anunnaki and these beings, they bestowed the recipe for beer onto mankind. And they gave us the recipe on how to brew hops or how to, do the hops to make the beer and all that, ferment the hops and all this stuff. It's all on ancient tablets. We didn't invent beer. It was given to us. The knowledge of how to make it was given to mankind. Something you can actually go travel and see that tablet with your own eyes. Crazy stuff. This is why I like this stuff. It's pretty interesting. What we kind of think we know about the ancient past based on what we learned in school is not even close to true reality. And to me, could some of this text be, based on the person's own perception who wrote it and etched it? Yeah, of course it is. But I think that the further back you go, the closer you get to real information. You're never going to get 100% of the information because it's people that are making these texts. But when somebody goes through the trouble of using a stylus and a wedge in wet clay and turning it into stone so they can last through the ages, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago, we're getting as close we can, as close as we can possibly get to the actual facts. Okay. And then from there, it depends on extrapolation, hypothesis, speculation comes into play. It's just great. I just love it. It's like becoming a CSI agent for, ancient information and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It's pretty cool stuff to me.